Okay, so I did a practice out here yesterday and it was lovely. So I thought I'd recreate it and film it for you today. It's going to have some stuff for the hips and for the shoulders. You're going to need a mini loop band, could be a yoga strap or even a belt done up is all you're going to need. And a wall. So we're going to start coming in with our legs up the wall. I find it easiest to sort of sit 90 degrees to the wall with my hip and then lay back and swing the legs up. So once I'm here, I just want to be a distance from the wall that I can let the weight of my pelvis really land and settle on the ground. Oh my goodness, you guys, the sun is so glorious. Yeah, I'm really noticing how the weather impacts my mood since being in quarantine. So from here, I'm going to take my mini loop band and put it over the ball of my right foot. And I'm going to take that leg off the wall. And so for some, this might be quite intense. So the leg might be closer back to the wall based on sort of what's happening on the back line of your leg. So I'm able to keep the back of the pelvis settled on the ground and bring my foot kind of in the direction of my shoulders here. And then I'm going to play with moving the ball of my foot away and then moving it towards me. So moving into some dorsiflexion, creasing the front of that ankle, and then into some plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, and plantar flexion. And although the band is on the ball of my foot, I'm really focusing on the movement of my heel around the bottom of my leg bone here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this leg into as much flexion as my hip can handle. And I'm going to give a little isometric into that hand, simultaneously pressing the other leg into the wall. And then I get a little shaky happening on that right leg. And I'm going to ease off, and dorsiflex, and plantar flex. And the next time I plantar flex, I'm going to bring that hip into as much flexion as I can, and then find an isometric at that end range. So just the hand resisting the leg and the leg resisting the hand, loading the front of that hip with a compressive load and the back of the leg with a tensile load. Whoa, shaky. What? That front of the hip, that neural drive, it's a bit spotty here in this range, okay? And I'm going to go back, flex, dorsiflex, plantar flex. And then third time's a charm, so I'm going to do that one more time, pressing that heel into the wall, pressing this shin into my hand, loading the front of that hip. Shaky. So if I had the leg out farther, it's less shaky because it's clearer, the neural drive to the front of that hip. As I get closer to that end range, which is where I want to strengthen it, it gets a little bit more quivery and shaky. This is really helping my splits, my front splits. Okay, I'm gonna let that go. And I'm just gonna play with doing some circles, playing with the plantar and the dorsiflexion. I'm going to change direction. And I'm going to bring both heels to the wall and notice the difference side to side. Okay, and then I'm going to bring that band and or strap, the other leg, and just playing with that plantar and dorsiflexion. Again, I'm really focusing, although the ball of my foot is moving, I'm focusing on my heel moving around the bottom of my leg. So I could also have the band. I played with that a little bit yesterday. I could have the band on my heel. And that might help me kind of feel the movement of the heel a little bit more clearly. Okay, and then I'm going to push that heel into the wall, draw this heel towards me, find a little isometric here. Engaging the front of the hip, tensile loading the back of that hip. Neural drive's a little cleaner and clearer on this side, this range, this end range point. And then I'm going to release it, flex. So yeah, I have a difference between plantar flexion of the ankle and finding that neural drive at the front of the hip. It's a lot shakier than when I keep the ankle in dorsiflexion. But because I want to work on my front split position, I want to have this leg in plantar flexion, so no creases at the front of that ankle. Yeah. One more time. Feels so good. Okay, and then I'm going to play with circling. Okay, and then I'm going to bring both legs to the wall and just notice what I noticed there. Yeah. I'm in the backyard. Yes? What?
Is Parker coming?
Yes.
How long?
Any minute. Okay, where you go? I'm filming. What's up?
Can you make chicken nuggets?
That's what we're having for supper. Okay, I'll come in and get you a snack. There's pepperoni, apples, oranges. Okay, love you. Okay, from here, we're going to play with crossing the ankles and then externally rotating that femur. And again, watching that the knee kind of can stay over the hip and the degree of rotation that you can get in that femur. And then I'm going to slide that other leg down to the degree that I can keep my pelvis on the floor. And that'll bring this hip into some flexion, but cause that outer hip to come into some tensile loading again. So I'm going to think about rotating that thigh away from me. And then I'm also going to play with pulling this foot off the wall. So I get some nice isometric loading in those hips. So I'm loading the front of my left hip, but the outside back rotators of my right hip here. And then I'm going to release that. Just do some rotations. You could move further away from the wall as well. If being this close, there isn't enough space for there to be any movement. And then think of rotating that right femur away from you and drawing the left knee towards you. Breath is easy here. I'm going to bring that back to the wall, and again, doing some rotations of that femur. If I didn't have the neural drive to create this movement, I could use my hands and create this rotational movement of the femur bone. I could use my hands to draw the left leg towards me as well, okay? But I'm going to use the muscles of my hips to do that for me today. Now I'm going to take my left heel and bring it down towards my right sit bone, and then I'm going to slide my knees on top of one another and the top of that right foot down the wall. And so I'm in kind of a bit of an eagle pose here, but I'm reclined. I'm going to reach my hands up, and I'm going to reach the left arm over the right, just hugging my chest. So I'm in a reclined eagle position. I could interlace my forearms if I wanted. With the forearms interlaced or hugging, I'm going to play with moving the elbows up and down. I'm going to think about squeezing the knees into one another. Squeezing the elbows into one another. And release the arms, release the legs, just bring them both up. Notice what I notice here before going to the other side. Okay, and so I'm going to cross that left ankle over the right, rotate that leg, and slide it down. And then I'm going to play with, again, this rotation of the left femur. Slide that down until I feel some loading in the outside of that hip. So few planes are going over me now, but there is one right there. I think it seems so loud because they're just so infrequent right now. So rotating that, then I might bring the right knee towards my chest to the degree that I can keep rotating that left femur away from me. Again, I could use my hands or my strap. But for today, I want to use the muscles at the front of this right hip to bring me into this figure four. And then I'm going to bring that foot back to the wall. I'm going to use the muscles of that hip to rotate. The left leg, but again, I could use my hands. So if just the neural drive to that tissue is quiet today, use your hands, start to get it some feedback. Then you might hold that position and retreat the hands as a way to work with it. I might keep that happening there as then I bring the right knee towards me. Again, I could bring it towards me with my hands and then retreat the hands. So lots of ways to layer in regressing and progressing any of these movements. And then bring that to the wall. And just noticing what I noticed, but I realized I didn't do eagle on that side. So I'm going to cross that over. I'm going to bring my right heel towards my left sit bone into the floor. Squeezing those knees together. I'm going to reach the arms up and hug the right arm this time over top of the left. Again, I could interlace the forearms if I wanted to. I might move the elbows up and down here. Thinking of squeezing those knees together, squeezing those elbows together. And then releasing and releasing. Okay, we're going to take those legs a little wider. Again, I might do dorsi and plantar flexion here. So you want to take it to a place where you feel some stretch sensation in the inner thighs, okay? I don't feel any stretch sensation here, so I'm going to take it wider. And again, I'm working on my splits, so I want to find my ranges where I actually have to load the adductors. So if that's not in this depth for you, that's A-okay. Okay, so I'm bringing the ankles into some plantar flexion here. And I'm actually playing with a little bit of a pelvic clock here. So bringing the tailbone towards the ground and then bringing the top of the pelvis towards the ground. And I'm pressing the heels into the wall. And I could bring my hands on the inside and try pressing them up into my hands. Remembering that to passively stretch something is to be able to go somewhere, and then the mobility is that ability to get back from there. Okay, so I'm going to play with pressing the left heel and bringing the right leg back up, and then taking the right leg back, pressing the right heel and bringing the left leg back up. Because I want the ability of my inner thighs to maintain tensile load as well as compressive load. I could even do a little circle, like an oval with this. One more. Ooh, it's coming. I want to do some internal and external rotation. So again, set your legs where you can then move the femurs in the pelvis, which might not be at the range that I'm working at. But again, I'm working on some specific things here. Whew. And then bring those legs back up to center. And just notice what you notice there. Super fun. So if you wanted another way to kind of work with that than what we just did there, is I could keep one leg centered and I could use my band, and then I can use my hand to kind of help my leg a little bit. So if I'm just sort of figuring this out, what we were doing a second ago, this is a way that you could work with teaching the hip how to do it, and the hand can kind of work with it to sort of get it tracking, and then you can move to something that where the hand and the foot aren't connected. Okay? Awesome. So from here, I'm going to slide the legs down the wall and move into some shoulder stuff. So what you're going to do for the shoulder stuff is come down onto your belly. And this is where I'm going to use my blocks as kind of a bit of a target. Okay, so I'm just going to place my blocks beside me on either side and bring my forehead to the ground. So with my arms out at shoulder height, because my chest is on the ground, I've got my hands under blocks, I'm bringing my shoulder into a little bit of extension. I could have it a little lower than shoulder height, but I'm going to have the blocks out underneath my palms. And then I'm going to explore pressing my palms down into the blocks. And then I'm going to relax. And I'm going to play with pressing my palms down into the blocks. And then I'm going to relax. And then one more time I'm going to practice pressing the palms into the blocks. And then I'm going to relax. So I'm going to bring the hands off the blocks now. Okay, and I'm going to play with lifting the hands up and over, and then back. Up and over, and then back. So now I'm going to add a bit of a twist here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish with my arms into some internal rotation. So I'm on my thumbs. And then as I come over, I'm going to find the pinky side of my hand. So I'm going to come thumbs down, and then I'm going to come thumbs up. Yes, Floor? What? I'm in the backyard. I'm just filming something.
Sorry, look.
Oh, nice.
It's okay. It's my birthday.
I'll be out front in a sec. So thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs down. I could play with the height of my block, going from thumbs up to thumbs down. So thumbs up, thumbs down. So now we're going to switch it. I'm going to be thumbs down, and then I'm going to come to thumbs up. Thumbs down, thumbs up. Thumbs down, thumbs up. Thumbs down, thumbs up. I'm going to keep my thumb up hand. It's going to come on the back of my skull. And I'm going to take my thumb down hand on the other side, and it's going to come to my sacrum. So now I'm going to switch and clear the blocks each time. Okay, now I'm going to lift my collarbones and chest. And rest. Whew. Sure does. I'm going to take my 2 blocks, and they're going to come down beside me on my palms. And from here, I'm just going to lift the blocks and lower. Hey, Henry.
Are you almost done?
Yep. Okay, this next time I lift. And lift my head, think of lifting the blocks. And then lower down. So this next time I lift, I'm going to lift my head and lift the blocks. And lower down. One last time. The head. Lift the blocks. Okay, and I could do this without the blocks as well. And I'm going to lower down and rest. Okay, so shoulders, hips are warmed up. We're going to come onto the hands and the knees. I'm going to put the blocks underneath my hands for this. And again, I've got some different heights, okay? So from here, I'm going to tuck the toes and lift the hips. Take myself back into downward dog. My heels may or may not touch. That's fine. What I'm going to focus on is I'm going to bring my left toes to just behind my left wrist. And this is why we need to be on the blocks, is so that there's space to step this hand forward. Okay? From here, I'm going to spin both my feet. Okay? So now I'm on the outside edge of both of my feet. Got it? So the outside edge of both my feet, pressing firmly down into the ground. Now I'm going to take this left hand off the block and just bring it to my hip. I'm going to let the hips lower. Then I'm going to press into the outside edge of the feet and the hand and reach that arm overhead, creating this kind of spherical shape. And then let the hips lower. And then karate chop the feet into the ground. Reach in this sort of spherical shape. And then coming back And one more time, press the outside edge of both feet into the ground and come into this spherical shape.
Mom,
Yes,
where's
honey?
my purple shirt with the knot?
In your room, I'm imagining both hands into the block. We're going to spin both feet forward. Press yourself back to downward dog.
Because me and Ruby want to have matching shirts.
Okay, this time I'm going to step forward with my right foot just behind the right wrist. I'm going to spin both my feet to the right, so that's going to bring me onto the outside edge. And the outside edge, taking that right hand off the block, bringing it to the hip. So karate chopping those feet into the ground. I'm going to reach on a diagonal to the left with that right hand, pressing firmly with that left hand into the floor. Coming back center, reach. Coming back center and reach. Coming back center, both hands on the block, spin both feet, step it back, downward dog. So let's go through one more time. If you find that the blocks are too low, it's too much for the hips, or there's not enough space to step forward, just raise it up a level, okay? So I'm in my down dog. I'm going to step the left toes in front of the left wrist. I'm going to spin those feet both to the left, coming to the outside edge of both of those feet, and then reaching on a diagonal to the right with that left hand. Pressing into the ground with the outside edge of the left feet. Coming back one more time. Reach. And one last time. Reach. Feeling the outside of those hips, spinning it forward, stepping back, downward dog. Now feel that change on that side. Step the right toes in line with the right wrist. We're going to spin both feet to the right, coming to the outside edge of those right feet. Here we go. You're going to reach on a diagonal to the left. Think about creating a spherical or round shape with your body, pressing firmly with that left hand, the outside edge of both the feet. Last time, reach, think of spherical shape, both hands to the blocks, both feet forward, take it back, downward dog. Nicely done. Come down into a table. Okay, so we got lots of great loading for the hips, isometric, concentric, eccentric in there, as well as for the shoulders today. I've got kids that want me to run, so I'm going to do that. But I'm going to invite you to bring yourself down onto the ground. Find your final resting posture. You might want to do constructive rest or butterfly restorative, or a restorative bridge. So using one of the blocks underneath the sacrum, both feet on the floor, and then settle into Shavasana for a good 5-10 minutes. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that quick and easy practice. I sure loved being outside. Let me know how it goes, and if you've got any comments or any questions. Namaste.